All right. Well, thank you first and foremost for joining the second One Confirmation LP Day. We had our first LP Day about 2 years ago in February of 2021, and we had a great time doing that one. We got a lot of good feedback. I think people loved it. And then we kind of dropped the ball last year. So we're glad to be doing this again. And we're planning to do this at least once a year moving forward. A big reason that we like to do these is education is kind of a big priority for us at One Confirmation, and has been kind of since the beginning. I mean, we have the standard venture capital goals of making good investments and generating good returns for LPs, being a good partner to founders. But because crypto is kind of its own world, and there's a lot of media attention, there's a lot of misinformation, really from the beginning, we've wanted to be an educator for you all and provide transparency on how we think and how we operate. And so really from the beginning, we wanted to bring on LPs who wanted not just a financial return, but also to learn and to maybe get more involved. And we've had a lot of good results on that front, truthfully. I mean, one example I like to use is, Mark Cuban was one of our first LPs, and he's actually been one of our most engaged LPs. And, he went kind of big in NFTs pretty early on in late 2020, early 2021. And a big reason was he was getting our update emails and saw kind of what was happening with OpenSea and the growth of OpenSea. And then he, started making more investments in the space, started talking about it in the media and things like that. And that's one example. There are many examples of LPs who have kind of learned through us and then started making investments or building something in this space. And we really hope that continues. We have spent a lot of time from the beginning on our update emails and quarterly reports, but days like today are obviously a good way for you guys to kind of see what's under the hood, give more context to the numbers and really help you better understand kind of how we think about the world, how we make investments and things like that. So we've got a really good lineup. We've got 6 portfolio founders that we're going to be speaking with throughout the day. A couple of them, in Devin and Jay, are founders that we backed many years ago that have gone on to have a lot of success. Several others are more recent founders that we've backed that are kind of earlier on their journey. But I think it's going to be a great opportunity for you guys to kind of learn about new products, hopefully new products that you can end up using or participating in some way. We're also, you're going to hear a lot from Richard Shen, who many of you know is a general partner here at One Confirmation. I think he joined us really a couple months after I got started. He just passed his 5-day anniversary, and I think he's been one of the single best decisions that I've made since I've started One Confirmation, bringing him aboard. So you're going to get to hear from him a lot, hopefully learn a lot from him. We've also got Frank Horrigan, who was one of our most recent hires as a partner who leads operations, and Mike Tomaino, who's a partner on our investment team. And we're going to do a kind of Q&A at the end of the day where you guys will get to hear more from them. I've prepared some slides for the first 45 minutes or so of the day. These types of, I think, conversations are always better when they're more interactive. Obviously, this format is less interactive, but we do have a chat box. And I've got my wife, Liz, here with me, who many of you remember from last time is kind of the technical support, is, on top of many other things that she does for us. But we really hope that you guys are, using the chat box. Liz is going to be monitoring it along with me. And we want you guys to kind of ask questions. There's going to be Q&As, but also kind of as I go, as I'm talking through slides, I think it'd be probably a more useful time spent if you're actually engaging. So I see David passed and GM David. Okay, so one of the things I'm really proud of at 1confirmation is our focus. I think really from the beginning, we have been laser focused on our thesis, which is support authentic founders building early stage crypto products that we understand deeply from a user perspective. And there's two pieces of that thesis that I think it'd be useful to unpack. The first is authentic. Authenticity is really important. And I think many of you who kind of have followed us kind of understand that, right? Our view, which I think is a little contrarian in the crypto space, is authenticity wins in the long run. Crypto is open source. And as a result, it's really easy to copy products. And oftentimes in the short run, it can seem like the copycats that are, marketing louder or spending more on PR or whatever are winning. But our view is that in the long run, the authentic products that are kind of first of its kind, doing something new that pushes the whole space forward, those are the big winners. And that's really kind of what we focus on as a fund. The second piece of this thesis that I think is really important is to unpack is products that we understand deeply from a user perspective. And this thesis really dates back to how I got started in the space to begin with. Some of you know this, but I was back in 2012, I was buying Bitcoin. And to do it back then, I was in Portland, Maine. You had to go to an ATM, take out cash, then go to a local Walgreens and MoneyGram it over to some sketchy exchange in Japan called Mt. Gox. That was like the first UX in crypto. And at that time, it was just Bitcoin. It wasn't crypto broadly. And I saw Brian Armstrong launch Coinbase on Hacker News in kind of mid 2012. And it solved a really clear problem for me, which was just make it easy to buy Bitcoin. And you could link your bank account online and buy it. And you didn't have to go to take out cash, go to Walgreens and MoneyGram it, all that stuff. And that kind of product experience led me to join Coinbase. And that has kind of shaped my whole kind of crypto journey and really how we invest at 1confirmation. Is we want to be investing in products that we understand deeply from a user perspective. The other story that I sometimes talk about is OpenSea, which that was an early Fund 1 investment, has been our most successful investment to date, and that was also an example of kind of me using the product early. I was buying CryptoKitties back in late 2017, and back then, the only way you could buy and sell CryptoKitties was on the CryptoKitties website, and they charged 5%. And so I was looking for a place to trade CryptoKitties for less than 5%. And then I found OpenSea and kind of was one of the first users of that product. And so very much understanding the product is an important part of our strategy. I think it's a good strategy in the space for really two reasons. One is, we're not investing in narratives. I've noticed that especially as fund sizes get bigger in crypto, you start investing in kind of narratives that you don't really understand, but it's just kind of a narrative that sounds good. And I think that kind of explains FTX as an example, right? You have these venture funds that have too much capital that they need to put to work, and they invest in things that they don't really understand, they don't use, but it's a good narrative, right? They see an exchange, they see a founder that seems to be, engaging with politicians and getting good media. And so the narrative becomes, SBF is a great executor, right? That was the narrative for the VCs that invested in FTX. And they weren't investing in products that they deeply understand from a user perspective. And I think this strategy that we execute kind of allows us to filter out a lot of the bullshit in the space and avoid kind of these false narratives that pop up. The other reason I think it's really a good strategy to have is it allows us to really help our founders much better. When we're actually understanding the product, we're users of the product, we believe in these products, we are, we can get in the weeds and help on, strategy or product feedback or marketing or all these things. So this thesis has been, really good to us so far. And, we've obviously had a good amount of success. I don't think it's luck. I think there's certainly a little bit of luck involved, but I don't think it's luck. I don't think it's just great timing. I think we have a really good process that we can, execute time and time again. And as we've had more success, as we've grown bigger, we've really, made a concerted effort to stick to this initial process that has gotten us this far. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, of course, as the day goes on, or a lot more about that. But the thesis right here that you see is really core to what we do. So why is that a good thesis? All right, I want to make sure that people are paying attention. The first person that mentions in the chat who that's a picture of will get a special prize, maybe an NFT that we'll send them. Is anyone on here using the chat? Okay. There we go. Matt Halstead wins. So you guys are paying attention. That's good. So Hal Finney, many of you know, is kind of one of the OG cypherpunks. He, maybe Satoshi. A lot of people, that's their best guess on who Satoshi is. But in 1992, he had a really good quote, which is, computers can be used as a tool to liberate and protect people rather than control them. And that, to me, is why, we're doing this. For a lot of people, it's about the money, and money certainly is a big part of it. But freedom, to me, is really the why, the long-term why. And I think we're really seeing that. I mean, first, crypto has brought freedom to money, and that started with Bitcoin kind of in 2009. And then crypto brought freedom to finance. And that's kind of the DeFi area that started with, Ethereum in around 2017. And then crypto brought freedom to culture, and that's kind of the NFT era that started on Ethereum in around 2018. And soon, really now, and a lot of what we're investing in now, I think crypto is bringing freedom to information and human organization. And we're going to talk a lot about that throughout the day, but that's really the why to me. There's a lot of, kind of counter trends in the world, especially, we see on the internet today and the big internet companies and how much power these companies have. And I think crypto has the ability to really be empowering and give more freedom to people in terms of, first, these are the three things: money, finance, and culture, but also information and human organization. So that's the why. How we evaluate, we really, our process is pretty simple. When we're looking at new investments, we have really four main questions that we ask. Right. The first, kind of ties to our thesis, which I already mentioned. Is the founder authentic and motivated by something more than greed? And you're going to get a chance to hear from, a bunch of our founders today. But, for every investment that we make, the answer, to that question has to be yes. There's got to be something authentic about the founder. They've got to have kind of deep historical context on the space, and they're not just kind of opportunistically getting in the space to make a quick buck. Number two, does the founder have deep historical context and understand how to build kind of at the intersection of purist and tourist? So this is something that we think about quite a bit. And this is something that I think we have a unique advantage at evaluating, just because we've been deep in the space for about 10 years now and have a lot of historical context ourselves. So when we sit down with a founder, we want to hear how they navigate the idea maze. We want to, if they're building a stable coin, we want to understand how the 5 stable coins that attempted, that were attempted before them, did, what worked, what didn't work, things like that. And so when we're evaluating new investments, it's very much sitting down with the founder and understanding kind of how they think about the space that they're building, and making sure that it's not just, crypto is hot right now, and so we're jumping in to capitalize on that. The third question is the product first of its kind in a new market. You'll notice on the first slide, all of these products were really first of its kind to new markets. So Coinbase was one of the first of its kind to cryptocurrency exchange. OpenSea was the first of its kind to NFT exchange. DYDX was one of the first of its kind to decentralized derivatives, and so on and so forth. So, we've noticed that, when a space becomes a good narrative, so when NFTs, for example, becomes this hot narrative, you've likely missed the biggest kind of early stage opportunity. And of course, we are early stage, call it seed investors, where we want to be investing $1 million to $3 million in new products. And we've noticed that, most of the time these narratives don't exist yet when we're investing. We're just investing in kind of products that we find interesting. So it's got to be kind of a first of its kind product to market, or very close. Sometimes it's not necessarily the first, but it's the best founder that's doing it very early on, things like that. But that's how we think. And again, you'll see today when you hear from the founders that we're very much talking about kind of bleeding edge new markets. The fourth question: does the new market have the potential to lead to more mainstream adoption of crypto? That's something that we're very much thinking of as well. We're not investing in kind of the 5th, cryptocurrency exchange or something like that. Another cryptocurrency exchange that's slightly better is not necessarily going to lead to more mainstream adoption of crypto. We have noticed that really every bull market is led by something new. And so it was, first it was like, cryptocurrency, then it was DeFi, then it was NFTs. And, we think that for the next bull market, it's also going to be something new. And so we're always trying to think about, what are these products that can, permeate culture in interesting new ways. So those are really the 4 questions that we kind of think about when evaluating new investments. I mentioned this a little bit in a prior slide, but kind of the intersection of purists and tourists is very important to kind of how we think about investing. This whole concept it comes from Virgil Abloh, who was a very successful designer and a brilliant mind that thought about design in a really unique way. And his view was the most impactful kind of design approach was when you could kind of intersect purist and tourist. And in the crypto context, the purist is the person that's steeped in knowledge of kind of the history of the product. And the tourist is the person that doesn't give a shit about that, but just wants a product that resonates. And so this slide, I think, kind of demonstrates, purist is something like, Bitcoin or, blockchain.com or Rare Pepes or Hal Finney. The tourist, things like Solana, FTX, Bored Apes, Michael Saylor, and this is obviously our kind of judgment. When I tweeted this, some people got mad that their project or whatever was on tourist, and this is not necessarily a knock on any project. I think it's more just a framework that we find really useful. But when we can invest in things that are kind of at the intersection of purist and tourist, that leads to the biggest outcomes. And that to me is things like Ethereum and Coinbase and CryptoPunks and Vitalik. I think we tend to be a little more purist than tourist, and that's kind of our bias. So, this framework helps us when we're, thinking about new investments. Are we being too purist? Maybe we should be a little more open-minded on the tourist side. I find this kind of just a very useful framework to think about new projects. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little bit on kind of where the market is and where we see it going. One thing that we've kind of observed in the past really 10 years of crypto is that, I mentioned this before, there's always kind of something new that leads the next bull market. And it's often not an innovation in tech as much as an innovation in kind of culture and society broadly. And so right now, as we're kind of making new investments out of Fund 3 and in the NFT fund, we're very much thinking about like what's going to be kind of these new behaviors that are enabled by crypto that push the space forward and bring the next 100 million plus users into crypto. Before 2017, it was cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then just an exchange like Coinbase that made it very easy to access these new crypto assets. That crypto was kind of just owning crypto was the new behavior at that time. And, we launched 1confirmation in late 2017. And that was just as, decentralized finance, kind of being able to access crypto in a non-custodial way. Anyone in the world from wherever they were, and NFTs. And those were kind of the new, societal, innovations that we were on the ground floor for. So, we were investing in DeFi and NFTs kind of before they were categories. And that's what kind of led, the next bull market, right? And it didn't happen right away, of course, right? So OpenSea, you could see, was mid 2018, and it took about 3 years for it to really start working. And even 6 months before it really started working, there were questions. So what we think is our process of kind of identifying these founders building in these kind of new markets in the long term can lead to kind of great investments. And I think this this slide just shows that we were kind of backing these new categories before they really existed, and then in 2021 they led to more users and more value. And we think something similar is likely to happen in this kind of, call it, bear market that we're in. It's going to be kind of these new behaviors. So the question is, what will these new behaviors be? We don't have the answer. We don't know for sure, but we think we have a pretty good hunch, and we're making investments in great people that are kind of leading these categories. So the four that I'm highlighting here, the first is crypto for organization, right? I think one of the fundamental things that's new and different about crypto is it allows people from all over the world to organize in a new way and work towards a common goal. And really, what I always say is, like, Bitcoin was the first DAO. Bitcoin is a DAO in the sense that anyone that has mining gear can become a miner and participate in the Bitcoin network. And mining is a very specialized thing, and you need now you need a lot of capital, and you need kind of resources and computing power to participate. But it is something from the beginning that anyone could participate in, and that led to kind of people from around the world all having aligned incentives to work towards this common goal, which was bring Bitcoin to more people. And DAOs have now taken many different forms, and I think in some ways they're still kind of early in their development. But I very much think, DAOs and products that make it easy for people from around the world to easily kind of contribute their intellectual capital or monetary capital together to do something, whatever their common goal is. I think that is a really powerful concept that is likely to be a leader kind of in the next bull market. And I shared a few of the investments that we've made in this category. Nouns DAO is one. Some of you are familiar, and maybe some are even participating, but Nouns DAO is a DAO. It's a PFP project where there's a different artwork created every day that you can own. But when you own it, you don't just own the artwork, you own a membership in the DAO. And the DAO membership gives you decision-making power on how the capital in the pool is deployed. And so it's an interesting DAO experiment that's kind of going through some ups and downs, and it's still kind of, I think, early in figuring out how these DAOs are managed and things like that. But it's a very interesting experiment that we're excited about. Coop's another one that the initial idea is to give tools to people that make it easy for anyone to pull together capital and spin up their own investment DAO. Investment DAO is a very kind of specific type of DAO where you're just making investment decisions, and I think that's kind of a use case that is still quite interesting, although it hasn't quite kind of found product market fit. And there's a few other kind of examples of DAOs that we've invested in Super Rare and Osmosis. So another category that we're quite excited about is stablecoins. And stablecoins is crypto for commerce. Right now, cryptocurrencies have been mostly used for speculation, and they're not really being used for actually buying and selling things. And even NFTs, we'll talk about it with Devin, but I thought that by now NFTs would kind of have more stablecoin usage, and they don't. It's about 95% ETH. And so Bridge is a company working on that. Decentralized social is another, as well as gaming, and we're going to be talking about these categories more kind of throughout the day. We're going to hear from Richard later about how we use kind of on-chain metrics to make investment decisions. That's a big part of it. I didn't mention it kind of in the thesis. This is kind of an example of ENS Vision is a recent investment that we've made that's kind of a combination of a product that really resonates with us, as well as the on-chain metrics that back it up. All right, we're about on time. Again, this is something that we are going to talk about throughout the day. But the current market thoughts, there's obviously a lot going on. 2022, there were a lot of bad actors exposed. I think Binance and Tether are the big remaining question marks. But generally speaking, I think the flushing out of bad actors was a positive thing. And there's a lot of great stuff happening that kind of the media doesn't focus on, and we're going to be highlighting today. Ethereum and L2s, as well as Cosmos, I think are the two communities that we are most excited about investing in and spending the most time in. And the main thing, which I think I've stressed, is long-term mindset and focus on authentic innovation. Those are kind of what we think will win over the long term. So I guess we don't, we're up on time, right? So we don't have time for Q&A right now, but we're going to have it throughout the day, especially at the end. And so, yeah, thank you. This is our lineup. Can't forget this slide. We've got a lot of superhero founders that we've backed, starting with Sean Han of Aspect. So